Okay, thank you very much. Right, thank you. I'm joined today, obviously, by the Deputy Prime Minister and Treasurer, Wayne Swan. Can we start firstly by saying Australians would have woken up to the news overnight that there has been a plane crash in PNG, and that plane crash has caused the loss of 3 Australian lives, the loss of the life of 1 New Zealander, and 1 New Zealander who is also an Australian resident has been hurt. On behalf of the government, can I offer my condolences to the families of the 3 Australians that would be grieving the loss of a loved one today. Can I also offer our condolences to the New Zealand family that has lost a loved one, and can I wish a speedy recovery and a return to good health to the New Zealand citizen, Australian resident who has been injured. Secondly, can I say today, obviously a little bit earlier in the day, I and Wayne Swan signed on behalf of the Australian Labor Party an agreement with the Australian Greens. Of course, we have been working in negotiations with the Greens, with the Independents, with Mr Andrew Wilkie and with Mr Tony Crook to seek to form stable and effective government. We have reached an agreement with the Greens in writing, and that has been signed today and made publicly available. I think the fact we were able to reach that agreement shows that we have worked in good faith and held good discussions, and that agreement would govern our arrangements with the Greens in the House of Representatives and in the Australian Senate. I thank Bob Brown for working through with me the terms of that agreement. Thirdly, yesterday at the National Press Club I talked about the need for certainty and stability and the importance of economic management. As the Treasurer and I stand here, the 3 independents are being briefed by Treasury and Finance on government costings and opposition policy costings. These are the briefings that they sought last week, which are occurring today. At the end of those briefings, it's my intention to ask the independents if the costings of government policies prepared at their request by Treasury and Finance can be released publicly. We want to be transparent. We believe those costings should be released publicly, and we will seek the agreement of the independents to do that. I would call on Mr Abbott to do the same, so that for the first time the Australian people can see the costings of his election policies from Treasury and Finance. And finally, can I say on the question of certainty and stability and economic management, we've just received the June national accounts, which show that the Australian economy is growing strongly. This is a good result. It's a very good result when we compare ourselves with economies around the world. It shows how this nation and this government dealt with the global financial crisis and the strength of the Australian economy as we emerge from the global financial crisis. And I'll turn now to the Treasurer for the details.
Thanks very much, Prime Minister. Look, these are an outstanding set of figures, that all Australians can be proud of. Strong growth and a strong outlook in a confident Australia. I just want to go through some of the detail because the growth figure in the quarter of 1.2 is stronger than many expected, and 3.3 for the year is a very, very good outcome. It's a strong outcome when you consider the shaky conditions that exist in countries like the United States and in Europe. And I can say from my G20 involvement that finance ministers elsewhere and prime ministers elsewhere would kill for a set of outcomes such as these. They're very important for Australia because what they show is that the plan the government put in place when the global recession hit and the global financial crisis came along has worked. That is, we have put in place support for the economy, and as the economy has begun to grow, that support has gradually been withdrawn, and of course it is gradually being replaced with private sector investment. That is a very, very good outcome for the country. And the most important thing about it is that it provides a very strong foundation as we move forward to continue to grow and particularly to meet the challenges which will arise from Mining Boom Mark II. Now, what we see here is a broadening of growth. It is not something that's just confined to the mining sector. What is particularly important here is that consumption is strong. So what we are seeing is growth of 1.2% in the quarter and 3.3% over the year. But what it is supported by is strong growth in consumption, also building investment, and of course also exports. And of course all of that consumption is supported by strong jobs growth. And I think that says something about the underlying confidence that you see in the Australian economy. And of course last week we saw the capital expenditure investment figures, the CapEx as it's known in the jargon. That said that businesses plan to invest a massive $123 billion in 2010-11. That is up by 24% on a similar figure 1 year ago. And as I said, it's not just mining, you're seeing some strength in manufacturing and of course in other industries. Now of course we've also performed very well in terms of exports. Our export volumes are up 5.6% in the quarter. Our terms of trade rose a further 12.5% in the quarter and are now at their highest level in something like 60 years. And of course we see rising business profitability as well. Now all of this demonstrates what we must do as we go forward, because Australia now has a unique opportunity to maximise all of the opportunities which will flow from growth, particularly in our region. That's why we do need an economic plan. That's why we need to boost our national savings. It's why we need to invest in super-fast broadband. It's why we need to invest in skills, in education and training. So in these figures today, what you see is an endorsement of what the government has done over recent years to support our economy, and a demonstration of why we need an economic plan as we go forward to further support sustainable growth. Thanks.